Well, so in the book, I try to kind of look at high performers and interviewed a number of people. And I mean, one of the examples, without giving away the whole book, I guess, but was the Rolling Stones. The Rolling Stones have been for 55 plus years now performing, and having to perform at a fairly high level and with a lot of change of their environment as they tour. And by the way, that's an important point of mine. I call it the time travel bubble. It's not that I speak about it that much in the book, but that people that are able to perform that have to travel, that includes business travel, or includes the Roger Federers or the basketball players or artists or whoever that have to travel. Not everybody is able to travel and move and have enough of a stability and a routine to actually perform well. And what you find is the people that perform well in general are very, very organized, structured, and routine. And in the book, I talk about the Rolling Stones, who you'd think that both their creative process and from what they do in their songs would be fairly spontaneous, not particularly organized and routine, but in fact, that's not the case. And being septuagenarians now in their 70s, I think one may be 80 now, in talking to their choreographer who put everything together for them, they said they are incredibly routine. Talking about the example of what's the environment, they have to have their backstage look exactly the same, and they bring it with them wherever they perform. They want everything in just the right place. This is so that they have that. This is what I'm talking about the disruption, what happens to your body when you're suddenly in a different environment. So in order to perform well, because of the nature of their ability to do so, financially and otherwise, to perform, bring their backstage, which is exactly the same. And then they begin a very, very specific routine, all fairly well timed to the time that they get on stage at, let's say, 9:00. And even when they first come to the town, they'll have a particular date and moment in time that they'll interview to learn about the town. Hello, Cleveland, so that you can say something that you actually know. They, Mick Jagger will have very specifically almost 45 minutes of warm up at exactly the same time, every performance, follow that up with dancing warm up, followed up with a meeting of the group where they actually have a ritual. And this is what happens with routines. They become rituals. In some cases, in sports or performance, there may be superstitious. You might have some of those, that before you perform or before you do what you do. And we call it busting the crust. They take a meat pie and have a little meat pie before they go on, just right before they go on at 9:00. So I tell the story in a lot more specificity, but that's one example of how it aids and maintains stability and performance, both the environment and what you do in its preparation.
Yeah, that's interesting, and that makes a lot of sense. And I wouldn't worry about revealing too much from your book. People are going to buy your book. We're going to sell the shit out of this thing.
There's not that much. It's interesting because it takes a little bit of time to write the book and then come back in it. And as I've reread it a couple times, and you've probably had this experience, say, "Wow, there's a lot of interesting detail here. I forgot that I wrote this. This was a good line."
That could literally happen to me like the next day. I'm like, did I write that?
Yeah. So that's short-term memory gets worse as you get older. So, and the long-term memory gets better actually as you get older. But anyway, so
it's not surprising me that like the Rolling Stones are like that, because it seems to me that if you're going to make it to that level, that the party meant the sort of party image, the wrecking the hotel room image, to a certain extent can't be as true as the legends have it if you are going to make it to that level and stay at that level through your 90s. I mean, I remember they were performing, I don't know if they're performing now, but they were performing well after 9/11.
Yeah.
And it's just like, and they sounded great. And you don't sound great if you're destroying hotel rooms every time you travel.
Right. And I think it's a little harder to destroy hotel rooms at 70 and 80 years of age, right? You're going to destroy yourself, right? Most likely or not. But but I do think that you know, when you look at different high performers, um, I've talked a little bit. My friend Angel Martinez, you might have heard of Decker Brands. You know, the ones that make UGG boots and the sort.
Yeah.
Uh, he was the chairman and the CEO, and he had not a dissimilar history to me, where he came from Cuba to New York to Brooklyn, and his parents got him out very early during the revolutionary periods to come with his uncle, and so here he, you know, out of nowhere, he's broken away from his family, comes to be with his uncle in Brooklyn, and somewhere along the line, and trying to obviously learn the language, similar to myself, learn to survive, he finds kind of this solace in this routine of running. He became a runner, and he found this kind of this discipline, uh, um, where as he got into, you know, getting work in the sort, would always creep the time out to run. It would relax him. It would, and then this is what happens when you do things that regularly. You know, this is a part of what happens. People ask me often, how do I get started? My life's a mess. I can't get anything done in any time, in any regular way. If I do it for a day or two, and the sort. But Angel was able to. He has the same name as I do, Angel, right? So he's had a lot of similar experiences, and you know, we got to know each other pretty well. But he was able to, from that running, got into like marathons, was in like the New York marathons, became kind of a purpose for him, meaning and purpose. And that's part of what I talk about, how doing things regularly, having a routine, give you in itself meaning and purpose, even in the worst situations. But he moved to becoming a high performer. You know, he moved to basically, he got a job with like a shoe company, and then somehow got involved with Reebok, and somehow increased Reebok from England all the way here to the United States, and became a worldwide brand, Reebok, and then got into the, so to speak, the shoe business, and eventually became the CEO of Decker. And all of that regularity, that routine, that discipline, just as one piece, made him a high performer in business. You know, obviously it takes other qualities, leadership qualities that people have.